Now we come to chapter of the trees. And 3.2.12, the Buddha said, monks, these three things must be borne in mind so long as he lives by a Raja, a duly anointed ruler. What three? The first is the place where the Raja, the duly anointed ruler, was born. Then again, monks, the second thing he must bear in mind so long as he lives is the place where he was anointed. That means where he was crowned king. Then again, monks, the third thing he must bear in mind so long as he lives is the place where he won a battle, the place which he occupies as conqueror in the fight. These are the three things. In like manner, monks, these three things must be borne in mind by a monk so long as he lives. What three? The place where he got his hair and beard shaved off, donned the saffron robes, and went forth a wanderer from home to the homeless life. This is the first thing he must bear in mind so long as he lives. Then again, monks, the second thing he must bear in mind is the place where he realized, as it really is, the meaning of this is ill, or this dukkha, this is the rising of dukkha, this is the ceasing of dukkha, this is the practice that leads to the ending of dukkha. Then again, monks, the third thing he must bear in mind so long as he lives is the place where, by the destruction of the asavas, he himself in this very life came to know thoroughly the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that is without asavas, and having attained it, abides therein. These three things, monks, must be borne in mind by a monk so long as he lives. This sutta basically only concerns monks, and I've read it basically for monks. And that these three things a monk must always remember: where he went forth as a monk. The second one, where he understood the four Aryan truths, the basics of the Aryan truths. That means he entered the stream. And the third one is where he became an Arahant. 3.2.16, the Buddha said, monks, possessed of three qualities, a monk is proficient in the practice leading to the sure cause, and he has strong grounds for the destruction of the asavas. What three? Herein a monk practices sense restraint, indriya samvara. He is moderate in eating, bhojane matanyutta, and is devoted to wakefulness, jagarya nuyoga. And how does he practice sense restraint? Herein a monk, seeing an object with the eye, does not grasp at the general features or at the details thereof. Since coveting and dejection, evil, unprofitable states, might overwhelm one who dwells with the faculty of the eye uncontrolled, he applies himself to such control, restrains the faculty of eye, attains control thereof. When he hears a sound with the ear, or with the nose smells a scent, or with the tongue tastes a flavor, or with the body contacts tangibles, when with the mind he cognizes mental states, he does not grasp at the general features or details thereof. But since coveting and dejection, evil, unprofitable states might overwhelm him, he restrains the faculty of mind, attains control thereof. That, monks, is how a monk practices sense restraint. And how is a monk moderate in eating? Herein a monk takes his food thoughtfully and prudently, not for fun, not for indulgence, not for fattening, not for beautification, only for the maintenance and nourishment of the body, for keeping it unharmed, to help the practice of the holy life, thinking, my former feeling I check, and I set going no new feeling. So shall I keep going, be blameless, and live happily. Thus is a monk moderate in eating. And how is a monk devoted to wakefulness? Herein by day a monk walks up and down, and then sits, thus cleansing his heart of things that he must check. By night, for the first watch, he does likewise. In the middle watch of the night, lying on his right side, he takes up the lying posture, resting one foot on the other, and thus collected and composed, fixes his thoughts on rising up again. In the last watch of the night, at early dawn, he walks up and down, then sits, and so cleanses his heart of things that he must check. That is how a monk is given to wakefulness. Possessed of these three qualities, a monk is proficient in the practice leading to the sure cause, and he is thoroughly set upon the destruction of the asavas. here in this sutta, the Buddha is talking about 3 practices which are very, very important for a monk. The first one is practicing sense restraint. Sense restraint, that means he does not look at the features or the details of the 6 sense objects. Only what is necessary he will notice. In other words, he tries not to pay attention to the things of the world. The Buddha taught us in meditation to practice the 4 stations of mindfulness, 4 objects of satipatthana, which is basically body and mind. The mind is the part which is very, very important. We should always focus our attention on the mind, because if you watch the mind carefully, you will be able to know that the body is also in the mind. And then the second one is moderation in eating, not to eat too much. The third one is practicing wakefulness during the day and night. Try to practice sitting and walking, except for the middle watch. The middle watch is supposed to be from about 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. That means if you can, sleep 4 hours, but then 4 hours is not something that everybody can do. Only somebody who's got extremely strong samadhi might be able to do with 4 hours. But if we can do with not more than 6 hours, that should be quite alright. Because even in yoga, they advise that we should sleep not more than 6 hours. Last week we came to Sutta number 3.2.16. And in this sutta, the Buddha was talking about 3 things to be practiced. And the Buddha said that if a monk is proficient in the practice of these 3 things, he has strong grounds for the destruction of the asavas. I went through these 3 things the other day, but I'd like to comment a bit more about them. The first one I said was he practices sense restraint, indriya samvara. Actually, I made a slight mistake here. The practice is actually sense restraint, but the title of this practice is Indriyesu Gutta Dwara, which means guarding the sense doors. In a description of guarding the sense doors, the Buddha says that when a monk sees an object with the eye, he does not grasp at the general features, that is the characteristics, nimitta, or at the details, nana vayanjana, the minor details of it. And Buddha said, if he did so, coveting and dejection, evil, unprofitable states might overwhelm one who dwells with the faculty of the eye uncontrolled. So he sets a restraint over the faculty of eye. Similarly, for the other 6 sense doors, for the ear, the nose, tongue, the body, and the mind. So here we observe very carefully in this guarding of the sense doors, Indriyesu Gutta Dwara. A person in practicing meditation is to be careful not to grasp. The word here, grasp, actually is the Pali word gahi, which means to take up or to accept or to hold on to the objects of the 6 sense doors, either the general features of it, the signs of it, or the details of it. So what the Buddha is saying is that we don't take up or accept or hold on to the characteristics of the 6 sense objects or the details, and we restrain the faculty of eye. When we restrain the faculty of eye and the other 6 senses, it means only what is necessary we pay attention to. What is not necessary, we don't pay attention. Because if we pay attention to the 6 sense objects, what would happen is that there is perception, there is feeling, followed by perception, and followed by thoughts. And these thoughts will multiply, what is called papancha, the proliferation of thoughts, which is hard to restrain. So in the Buddha's teachings, meditation is not to watch the six sense doors, as some people say. Because here, that's what it says, not to watch the six sense doors. In fact, to practice a restraint of the six sense doors. What we actually have to watch is the body and mind, what we take to be the self. Because the problem with living beings is that we hold on to this idea of a self. And this idea of a self is tied to the body and the mind. Therefore, to untie the knot is here in body and mind. To untie the knot, we have to observe the body and the body and the mind to see that there is no atta, no self there. So the body and the mind is also basically the 4 stations of mindfulness, or the 4 stations of intense states of recollection. So that's the first one. The second one is, as I mentioned the other day, bojane matanyutta, moderation in eating. Third one is devotion to wakefulness. These are the 3. And the other thing I like to mention here is that in the Digha Nikaya, there is a definition of a term called charana, conduct. And this conduct, you see, the Buddha, one of the names of the Buddha is Vijja Charana Sampanno. That means replete with charana, conduct, and Vijja is knowledge. The Buddha is replete with knowledge and conduct. And so this term conduct or charana can also be called practice. Is according to the late Lady Sayadaw, he says that conduct, charana, consists of these few things. First one is sila, 7 things. First one is sila, moral conduct. The second one is sentosa, contentment. The third one is indriyesu gutadwara, which is guarding the sense doors. Fourth one is sati sampajanya, recollection and awareness. Fifth one is viveka, seclusion. Sixth one is nivarana pahana, abandonment of the hindrances. The 7th one is the 4 jhanas, attainment of the 4 jhanas. Now this explanation of charana, consisting of these 7 things given by the late Lady Sayadaw, is actually in accordance with the Digha Nikaya, only the Digha Nikaya. But if we study the other Nikayas like Majjhima Nikaya and this Anguttara Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, we have to add 3 more items which he did not include. 2 of these items is in the sutta we just read. One is bojane matanyutta, moderation in eating. Another one is jagarya nuyoga, devotion to wakefulness. These 2 is obvious from this last sutta we just read that they are very important, so they must not be left out in the practice of the spiritual path. The third one he left out was the 7 saddhamma, the 7 true dhammas, 7 items which are important. This 7 items is mentioned in Majjhima Nikaya number 53. First one is saddha, faith or confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. The second one is hiri. Third one is ottappa. This hiri and ottappa is conscience and remorse, a sense of conscience and a sense of remorse. Then bahu sacca, much learning of the Dhamma, much knowledge of the Dhamma. Virya, effort. Sati, recollection or mindfulness. Panya is wisdom. So these 7 things, 7 saddhamma, are also important things to acquire on the path. So a complete explanation of charana would be the 7 items given in the Digha Nikaya and by Lady Sayadaw, plus you add another 3 things which was missed out in the Digha Nikaya, namely I just mentioned moderation in eating, devotion to wakefulness, and the 7 saddhamma, 7 things which are important. Now we come to the next sutta, 3.2.19. The Buddha said, Monks, possessed of three characteristics, a shopkeeper is incapable of acquiring wealth he had not before, of holding what he gets, or increasing what he holds. What three? Herein, monks, the shopkeeper at early dawn attends not closely to his work, nor at midday, nor again in the evening. These are the three characteristics. Just so, monks, possessed of three characteristics, a monk is incapable of acquiring a state of profit, of holding it when gotten, or increasing a state of profit when he gets it. What are the three? Herein, monks, at early dawn, the monk does not concentrate on the sign of his meditation exercise, nor at midday, nor in the evening. It is owing to these three characteristics that a monk is incapable of acquiring a state of profit, of holding it, etc. And vice versa. So, in this sutta, the Buddha is saying that a shopkeeper, because he does not attend closely to his work in the morning, in the midday, or in the evening, so he is not capable of making much money. So in the same way, if a monk does not concentrate on his meditation in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, he is also not able to progress in his meditation. This sutta is trying to tell us that meditation is actually a full-time job, a full-time duty. If we want to improve in our meditation, we have to almost the whole day try to rid our mind of unwholesome states and concentrate it on our meditation object, so that if we keep on practicing the whole day, then we can progress much faster. So we have to remember that the more time we put into meditation, the faster we would progress. But if we spend very little time, only once a day or half an hour a day, it's very difficult to progress. The next sutta is 3.3.21. Thus have I heard, on a certain occasion, the Exalted One was staying near Savatthi at Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's park. Now the Venerable Savita and Mahakotita went to visit the Venerable Sariputta, and on coming to him, greeted him courteously. As he sat at one side, the Venerable Sariputta said this to the Venerable Savita: Reverend Savita, there are these three persons to be found in the world. What three? One who is a body witness, Kaya Sakin. One who is a view attainer, Ditthipata. And one faith liberated, Saddha Vimutta. These are the three. Now, Reverend, of these three, which seems to you most excellent and choice? And the Venerable Savita answered, Yes, Reverend Sariputta, there are these three persons. Of these three, I prefer the faith liberated, that is the Saddha Vimutta. Why so? Because in this one, the faculty of faith is most developed. Then the Venerable Sariputta asked the same question of the Venerable Mahakotita, who replied, To me, the one who is a body witness, Kaya Sakin, seems most excellent and choice. Why so? Because in this one, the faculty of concentration is most developed. Then the Venerable Mahakotita asked the same question of the Venerable Sariputta, who replied, Reverend Kotita, there are these three persons, and he repeated the names. Of these three, he who is a view attainer, Ditthipata, seems to me the most excellent and choice. Why? Because in this one, the faculty of insight or wisdom is most developed. Then the Venerable Sariputta said to the two others, Now, Reverends, we have all three expressed our views according to our leanings. Suppose we go together to visit the Exalted One, and on coming to him, let us tell him of this matter. According as the Exalted One shall decide it, so will we uphold. Very good, sir, said the other two to the Venerable Sariputta. So all three went to visit the Exalted One, and on coming to him, saluted him and sat down at one side. So seated, the Venerable Sariputta said to the Exalted One, and he repeated all the talk they had. Then the Exalted One said, "It is no easy matter, Sariputta, to decide offhand which of these three persons is the most excellent and choice. It may well be that this person who is faith liberated is on the path to arahantship, that this one who is a body witness is a once returner or a non-returner, that this one who is a view attainer is also a once returner or a non-returner." That is anagami or sakadagami. Yeah? It is no easy thing, Sariputta, to decide offhand about this matter. It may well be that this person, who is a body witness, is on the path to arahantship, that the other two are once returners, anagami, or non-returners, sakadagami. Or again, it may well be that this person, who is a view attainer, is on the path to arahantship, while the two others are once returners or non-returners. Indeed, it is no easy task, Sariputta, to decide offhand which of these three persons is most excellent and choice. This is one of those interesting suttas. Here they are discussing about three types of Arya: the body witness, the view attainer, and the faith liberated. And these three persons, according to the Buddha, these three persons can either be a person who is on the path to arahantship, that means the fourth magga person. Or these three could also be anagami, third fruition person. Or they could be sakadagami, second fruition person. So, in this sutta, the Buddha said, it is not easy to answer this question offhand, which says that there are some things which even a Buddha cannot answer offhand like that. Now, in this sutta, why I say it's very interesting is because firstly, you find it is mentioned here that these three types of Arya, it is possible that any one of these three could be a fourth path attainer. Which means to say that a fourth path attainer can be found. And this contradicts the Abhidhamma and later commentarial books, which says that when a person attains the fourth path, he immediately, the next moment, attains the fourth fruition. In other words, a path attainer, whether it's the first or the second or the third or the fourth path attainer, will immediately after that, the next moment, become a fruition person. But this is contradicted by this sutta. In fact, there's more than one sutta that says a path attainer can exist. In other words, the four types, the Aryas are not four types of persons. It is 8 types of persons. 8 types. Either the first path person or the first fruition, second path or second fruition, third path, third fruition, fourth path, fourth fruition. Now another sutta which corroborates this is Majjhima Nikaya 142. And in that sutta, I think Dakkhina Vibhanga Sutta, it is mentioned that you can make offerings to a first path attainer. You can also make offerings to a first fruit attainer. You can make offerings to a second path attainer. You can also make offerings to a second fruition attainer. You can make offerings to a third path attainer, third fruition attainer, fourth path attainer, and fourth fruition attainer or arahant. So there's a second sutta which contradicts the Abhidhamma. The third one is Samyutta Nikaya 25.1. It's also mentioned that first path attainer, before he dies, he will definitely attain the first fruition before he dies. But it's not mentioned how long, which means any time after a person attains the first path, until he dies, might be 1 day, might be 10 years, might be 30 years. It is definite that he will attain the fruit. Now, in the Majjhima Nikaya, number 27, it is mentioned the difference between the fourth path attainer and the fourth fruition attainer or the Arahant. The fourth path attainer understands the four Aryan truths, whereas the fourth fruit attainer or Arahant sees and knows the four Aryan truths, and also the asavas are destroyed. So from here, you can see that the path attainer does exist. Now, another thing I'd like to mention is like the commentary to the Majjhima Nikaya number 70 says that the three Aryans that we just described, the body witness, Kaya Sakin, the view attainer, Ditthipata, and the faith liberated, Sada Vimutta, they say that these three types of Arya can also be the first fruition person, but this is not supported by this sutta. This sutta says that these three persons can either be a second fruition or the third or the fourth path attainer. So we have to look out for these kind of suttas which tell us the contradictions. That's why these kind of suttas we pay careful attention, then we can find out the contradictions that the Abhidhamma and the commentaries make with the suttas. The next sutta is 3.3.24. The Buddha said, monks, these three persons are very helpful to another person. What three? The one through whom a person goes for refuge to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha. Then there is the one through whom one understands as it really is the meaning of this is dukkha. This is the arising of dukkha. This is the ceasing of the dukkha. This is the practice that leads to the ceasing of dukkha. That means the four Aryan truths. Also, there is the one through whom a person, by destroying the asavas himself in this very life, comes to know thoroughly the liberation by mind, the liberation by wisdom, which is freed of the asavas, and having attained it, abides therein. Such a person is very helpful to one. These are the three persons. Then these three, I declare there is no other more helpful to this person. To these three persons I declare, one cannot make requital by salutations, by rising up in his presence, by saluting him with clasped hands, by dutiful behavior, or by offerings of the requisites of food, clothing, bed and lodging, medicines and extra delicacies. So that's the end of the sutta. Here this sutta is saying that these three persons help us the most. You cannot find any other person more helpful to you than these three persons. The first one who brings you to take refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. In other words, the person who introduces you to the teachings of the Buddha. That's the first person we owe a great debt to. Then the second one is the one who makes us understand, who helps us to understand the four Aryan truths. When we understand the basics of the four Aryan truths, we have entered the stream and we will never fall into the woeful pains again. That's why we owe a great debt to this second person. The third one is the person who helps us to attain arahanthood, to attain destruction of the asavas. What is this asavas? Asavas can be translated as uncontrolled mental outflows. That means the running of the mind. Because when the mind runs, that means there is consciousness. through the six sense doors. And whereas the consciousness through the six sense doors creates the arising of the world. The world, the Buddha said, arises in consciousness. Without consciousness, there is no world. That's why the Buddha said that the world is like a dream. It's insubstantial. It's hollow, sunyata, emptiness. But because there are so many things to enjoy in the world, so many things to play in the world, we can't let go of this dream. We want to dream again and again until we have suffered enough, we have been pained enough. Then slowly we mature, lifetime after lifetime. We come and we get hurt, and then we mature spiritually, we develop, and the time will come and you'll all go along the spiritual path, renounce, and be ready to get out of this dream. So you have to remember, the Buddha said, these three persons, you cannot make, you cannot pay back the debt to them, even if you pay due respect to them, you offer them all the requisites, etc.